Hi everyone, welcome to this reading. I felt called as I started it to dive into the subconscious, so we're going to be using only the intuitive tarot deck today to do that deep, layered work, address what's happening on that level. I'm recording this late Feb 2026. Let the gods be intentional, please. Late Feb 2026, very energetic time. I said in the intuitive channeling that I did around the same time, which I'll link in the description of this video, that because of how energetic this period of time is, it's most important to focus, look at the detail, look at the energy of things, focus on the intention, focus on the layer beneath, because whatever's happening on 3D is likely a signal of that. So that might be relevant to you as you watch this. I'm going to pull out 3 cards, then play around with the energy, read some interpretations, whatever I feel called to do. Very powerful energy so far. The third card, third and final card. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Okay, then. I'll put that beneath the deck because that's a lot of cards that flipped over like that, but they were so insistent. So I'm just going to put that to the side. We have the Emperor as the opening energy. And then we have the Hanged Man, 2 major arcana so far, right? Then we had the Magician in reverse that fell out as like an interconnected thing, like a bridge between the King of Swords and the 5 of Swords. I feel called to dive into the interpretation of the Magician in reversed. This feels central because what I'm feeling from all of this is a choice point that you as the viewer may be facing right now. Between a logical system and way of thinking and an internal, intuitive, connected will. I'm feeling a fear of being impulsive or being over assertive or being forceful or aggressive. And I'm feeling someone thinking that they can combat that with logic. But this energy that you are facing, and I feel you may be trying to suppress, is an energy that will come out. It has a life of its own. You cannot intellectualize it. You are a very naturally intellectual person, so it might be something that you can't help. And of course, if by now this does not resonate, stop watching. If you're not an intellectual person, stop watching. This reading is not for you. And your intellectuality might be working at your own detriment right now. It might be perverting your powers, inverting them, suppressing them in some way. I'm also getting the light story. This may be you or someone you know, a man being put through the test of learning how to exercise his intuition and balance that with his logic. And the intersection of that is where he is the most fearful. This may also be relevant for a woman or femme-identifying person who has they're going through an inner masculine test in a way where their assertiveness is being put through a challenge that has very closely to do with the fear of, and now I'm receiving, making mistakes. This card in reverse speaks of misuse of talent such as persuasion, a tendency to ride roughshod over others, power for its own sake, greed, willpower misdirected, the flow of energy blocked, leading to feelings of dread, fear, and instability. This is all interesting. I'm receiving now that the solve could be, and then this is why. So as I was putting the cards down, that moment that I had where the cards flipped, this bunch of cards flipped over and the Hierophant was at the top. showed itself at the top. I'm not going to pull out all of these cards. This is a thick mound of cards, but I think it's worth considering. When cards show up like this, when the messagings become so bunched together like this, I think it means it's a huge sign for transformation. It's a huge symbol of you as the viewer taking in this message to stay alert, pay attention, and specifically I'm receiving pay attention to where you are most scared, because it seems like that's an important thing. Fear is trailing somewhere in your life because it's trying to tell you something. So try to pay attention to that. But anyway, the Solve as the Hierophant, to me, recommends prayer, meditation, lots of moments of stillness. It seems like the internal world is going through a lot of chaos and needs to be tempered with external stillness. With these two cards together, I'm getting a processing of the mind. So it's again bringing up the suggestion of meditation. I'm also getting the signal to please be aware of being too mean to yourself. This persuasion from this card in the presence of these two cards suggests to me a persuasion of the self, someone persuading themselves out of the desire to do something. Yeah, someone persuading themselves out of following their intuition, basically. I'm getting also that it might be very important to pay attention to what you want that scares you. Because I may be reading for somebody who has that thing in them, who has a thing in their lives that they want, but that brings them very big terror. So this could be somebody wanting to embark on a new relationship, on a new way of living, a new way of being, working, a new job, changing either one of those things into something else. I'm also getting the frequency of somebody who up till now has been used to persuading people and is going through a strange experience. This feels specific, but I'm going to mention it anyway. They're going through a strange experience, and it's strange to them because they're not used to it. They're going through a strange experience of not being able to manipulate people anymore. This is the narcissist needing to reflect about their narcissism and change it. This is an aware narcissist. Maybe this is someone with self-awareness who's realizing that they are a narcissist. They behave from a narcissistic place. This could possibly also be the mark of an empathic man who is realizing up till now that they thought they were being empathic, but they're actually just being manipulative. This could be true of someone you know as well. Be aware of that. With the presence of the King of Swords, I think the best solve for any of this is being honest as well. If you find that this might be someone you know, someone who's annoying you or whatever, I don't know, just be honest. Communicate honestly to yourself or whatever. If this is you, if this is something you identify with, realizing all the ways that you are a narcissist, firstly shout out, because that is very difficult for empaths and people to do, especially people who are very dedicated to being kind and realizing what a perverted narcissistic desire that is to be a good person. If you know, you know. Coming to terms with that, the best way, I think, is to just be honest. It looks so beautiful laid out, and it looks so like obviously that you are being poked at in the area of your life that has to do with assertion, will, doing things. Aries in your personal planets, Saturn in Aries. The Saturn and Aries transit is a collective experience as well. We are really all being tested in this in our senses of free will and the need to readjust the way we make choices to come from a place of intuitive knowing rather from a place of fear and a place of thinking that we know it all. Because that in itself is a fear-based thing. It's rooted in a fear of being out of control, which you kind of always are in this container of life. Being humans, images of God, we're always so out of control in a way that's actually so big that we can't even name it because it's scary to face. And it's also just too big. The realm of the unknown in our lives, in the universe, in the sea, in our own brains. Come on. There's so many things we do not know and that we have to surrender to. It'd be best to learn how to do that. Surrender feels very important. Knowing where you can apply your will, what's in your control and what isn't. I'm receiving also that journaling could also be helpful in trying to address this figure, giving it a name and a face, because right now it's unknown. You may suffer from unnamed guilt or shame, or an unnamed sense of deservingness. You kind of feel like you always have to save, or you feel like you always have to make sure. I don't know, like no one's protecting you. But the point is you're protected by your own will and your ability to fix things, make things happen, get your way out of problems. That ability comes from being connected to an intuitive knowing, being connected to the divine, to God. That is how you take this from this to this. You have to surrender. You have to give room for the things that you do not know, which are many. The serenity prayer may also be helpful, including in your daily rituals and your daily prayers, to remind yourself that there are some things that you are in control of and there are other things that you are not. Knowing the difference, knowing how to balance between the two things and apply your will perfectly so that things aren't difficult to manifest. And so you can work through all problems, really, because no problems are problems. Beware of the potential of also making problems up in your head because you overthink. This is also something. All that overthinking gets in your way of being able to do things. This is also giving analysis paralysis. So I'm also now getting the immediate solve of being impulsive. Make an impulsive decision. Just one. Dive into it. Try to actually be intentional about making one impulsive decision a week. Just one. A week. Per week. Just one. Go out without a plan. This one guy has a really cool coded system on this button that he programmed that he presses and it'll order an Uber and he won't find out where until he gets there. Just that idea is fun. I feel called to shuffle for one more closing energy and then end the reading. Thank you. This is interesting and I think let me just check something. Yeah. All right, lots of blockages going on here, hey? Now I'm getting the frequency of a man getting in the way of a relationship happening because he's thinking too fucking much about the fears of it all. Ugh, the most boring thing. No offense, sorry, but this is so beautiful. These two cards, can you imagine this upright? These two cards in reverse like this. This is just a person with some really incredible energy. And maybe not between you, maybe not between a relationship, but a sense of within, a sense of fullness and love within, blocked. Because of fears that will work themselves out. But you have to be able to be willing to surrender. Be willing to surrender. Use your free will to give to God, to surrender to God. Keep your gaze on God. Also very helpful in mitigating these complicated energies of being human, because this is also a very human ego problem, which we all go through this shit. Feeling incapable of love or full commitment, holding back, possibility of deceit in relationships. In a relationship, storms ahead, problems between two people or within the family that are not being addressed. This also speaks now of that word addressed makes me want to read the interpretation of the 5 of Swords. A need to face the fear that governs your life. Sometimes a need to accept a situation in humility and grace until it becomes possible to change circumstances. Feelings of shame, resentment, anger, fatalism, oppression, perceived betrayal, sexual harassment, or domination. I'm getting this very strange feeling of somebody being too afraid to be more assertive in a relationship because they're scared of being violent or aggressive. I'm getting someone, a masculine in a relationship, who is so wounded by his experience of masculinity and ego application that he does not know how to do it. He doesn't know how to apply it in his own life. Feeling incapable of love or full commitment feels also to do with the thwarting of the masculine energy. Someone's like scared to make a choice to commit, which is ridiculous because the choice to commit is coming from within you. It's coming from above. It's coming from a place you can't name. This is someone denying their internal senses and will to do something to do with commitment, relationship. I'm getting a fear of being a parent as well, which happens, totally fair, but you're stopping something beautiful from happening. You'll be surprised by how children save you. They really do. Don't listen to the propaganda. If anybody talks down about parenting, it's because they hate their lives. That's actually it, because there are only full soul work gifts that come from being a parent that you have to be self-aware to understand. That's a random channeling. Don't be afraid to be a parent. Don't be afraid of children. Being afraid of children is being afraid of life. It's ridiculous. Anyway, don't be afraid of love. Oh my God. Don't be afraid of being in relationship. Don't be afraid of relating to people. Because this also in reverse, like I said, this is a fear of taking responsibility, a very ridiculous, unbased fear, because this responsibility is yours. You're made for it. So the fear of taking it doesn't make any sense because it's yours. It's not going to go anywhere. I feel called to mention a very random one as well regarding children between two people who are meant to have kids. That kid is always going to haunt you two people. Always, in energy and in spirit. If two people are meant to have kids and they don't have kids, that kid is going to haunt you. You can't get in the way of this stuff. You cannot interrupt it. So I'm also receiving the warning of be prepared for this thing to take shape. And as it does take shape, remind yourself that nothing is too scary for you to handle. And you'll be surprised when you come out on the other side and realize that this fear you have, whatever unnamed fear you have about commitment, relationship, parenting, exercising your will, being responsible, whatever it is, I don't know. Whatever the fear is, it's not that scary. Nothing is that scary. None of it is that scary. Beneath the deck, we have Temperance in reverse. This is so strangely, there's such a huge blockage here. A very fascinating one. I'm getting the huge possibility of you as the viewer watching this for someone else. In which case, it's probably your responsibility to help this person through this, because I don't think that anyone in this state would be open to hearing this kind of information. But if you do relate to it and you understand by now that this is probably for you, then shout out for sitting this long and taking it in and processing, We have closing down on possibilities, refusal to see opportunities, fear of being hurt, resisting life, concentration on one aspect of life to the detriment of another, often an unwillingness to see anything but the outer form of material reality. You are once again being instructed, taken by the shirt and shaken to say, you must follow your intuition and you must choose it and you must keep choosing it and you must make the work of empowering yourself, being afraid of nothing and opening your doors up to love, whatever this may look like, however this is reflecting in your own life. It needs to stop now. Okay, stop getting in your own way, because this is also something that's coming out here. Somebody who's over intellectualization is getting in their own way. Too much logic, not enough vibes, boring, boo. I hope this was helpful. Very complicated energy. I totally understand it. I understand how scary it can be to be to uphold logic and to uphold being prepared and to uphold being in control against whatever these experiences are. It's very difficult to learn how to surrender. So I'm with you and or anyone in your life who you may think this is about. Crazy energy to deal with. So please, let's all be gentle with each other. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next reading.